I don't think I'm minimizing it if I say this has been an excruciating year. Today's been an excruciating day. 8 soldiers were killed in Lebanon today. But the one thing that if I didn't know already about myself, I've learned that about the only thing that can make me feel any kind of uplift during this year is being with all of you and being able to still be here and gather together as a community is not something that I ever took for granted, certainly didn't take for granted during COVID, didn't take for granted the first time we were together after COVID. And this year, the sense, I hope, that we all feel that we need each other more than we even ever had before. So all year, I've been wearing this necklace around my neck, and I want to explain to you the meaning of the various things that are hanging on this necklace. And I'm going to go from oldest to newest. So you probably, many of you assume that my Hebrew name is Devorah. It's not. For people who may be expecting children at some point, don't pick a biblical name for their English name and a different biblical name for their Hebrew name. They'll spend the rest of their life trying to explain that. In any case, my Hebrew name is Chaya. It was named for a great-grandmother who stayed in Poland by herself with her 2 little boys while her husband came to the United States to make money to bring them over. I, of course, never knew her. My grandfather, her youngest child, was born after she had moved to the States. I'm told that she was really tough, a really tough person. I think that was my grandmother's way of nicely saying, she was tough. But I kind of like the fact that I was named after a lady that was tough. My grandmother also told me for the rest of her life she hid bread in drawers and in places in the house because she was always worried that one day there wouldn't be enough to eat. So my grandma, when I was a little girl, brought me this little chai, and it's very delicate. And, I pretend to not wear delicate things. So after, I was a teenager, I put this in my jewelry box, and I never wore it ever since then. And figured someday maybe I would be able to, maybe be fortunate enough to pass it on to a grandchild. In any case, I pulled it out and put it on this chain. First of all, because it reminds me of her, and there's probably no single person in my life that had a bigger influence on my Jewish identity. She passed on such a strong love and devotion, my grandmother, to our Jewish traditions, to the home that she created, the home that was filled with Jewish holidays and Shabbat, and how badly she wanted me to have a strong Jewish identity. I'm not sure she quite got that I was going to rabbinical school. She lived, while I was in rabbinical school, she was still alive, but at that point, her mind wasn't all there, and I'm not sure that she ever got that. But it would have been so important to her to know that I had a strong Jewish identity. In March, Maxine Frankel, dear friend and member of the congregation, for my birthday gave me this little Israel pendant. And for those of you that are old enough to remember Dick Van Dyke, if you remember the brooch episode where Laura gets the gift of the brooch of the United States. So I think about that every once in a while because I really will say that I never would have occurred to me to wear a map of Israel around my neck. But since October 7th, what this symbolizes for me is my strong, abiding love for Israel. It's not a love that's tied to a government policy. It's not a love that's tied to one political leader over the other. It's a deep and abiding eternal love that this is our homeland, that the Jews are indigenous to the land of Israel, that in spite of the lies and the slurs that people are saying about us, that we're colonizers, that we're not indigenous, that we have no right to this land, the sense of how we have connected, how I feel so connected to the land of Israel, these last 2 weeks, watching the IDF begin to really turn the narrative around, I've been saying to a few people, my faith in God is not always that firm, but my faith in the IDF was. Now, this does not mean to say that I thought everything the IDF ever did was right and they never made mistakes, but my faith was strong that when we as a Jewish people said never again, it was because we have an Israeli army. And so October 7th shook that faith deeply to every Israeli, and certainly to those of us that love Israel. And so while the war is still raging and we don't know where it's going to end, the successes of the IDF these past 2 weeks has restored my faith in their ability to protect our beloved homeland. This last pendant, many of you know the story already. In March, well, April, I guess, right after Pesach, I had to go get my vacuum cleaner repaired. I could make a joke about matzah crumbs in the vacuum cleaner, but it got stopped up. So I went to the vacuum cleaner store right here on the corner. Little, there was only one other woman in the store, one customer, and then only one person working in the store, and they were having the replace conversation about the vacuum cleaner, and I said, can I join into this conversation, because I want to have the exact same conversation. So I noticed she was wearing this gold pendant, and when he went in the back to get, what the things that she wanted to buy, I said to her, because I could tell that on one side of the pendant it said, Nova, we will dance again, that obviously she was Jewish, that we were like-minded, that it was safe to talk to her, and so I asked her, where did you get the pendant? And she said, you can only get them in Israel, and a friend of mine brought one home for me. So the phrase, Nova, we will dance again, is the motto of the survivors of the Nova Festival, right? Young people who went to just have a fun evening of dancing. One, really, because I see their pictures on Facebook every single day, I have to say, one more beautiful than the next. And deeply cool, you could tell. Cool in a way that I'm sorry, American Jews generally aren't. Sorry, but like these beautiful young people slaughtered amongst so many others. In May, I was able to go, Federation invited me to go on a trip to a 3-day mission to Israel, and I went, they took us to the Nova field, which is just a sea of basically banners, and each banner, of course, with the face, a name, and some information about each of these people that were slaughtered. I read the prayer there that we read for Israel, our special one that we read by Naomi Levy. I led our group in that prayer. And so the idea of Nova, we will dance again. Some of us have already danced at weddings this year. Some of us, it doesn't mean that as individuals, right? We as individuals may dance. We may go to an event that's happy. What this said to me, Nova, we would dance again, was the abiding faith that the Jewish people would somehow have it in them as a people to dance again. The other side of the pendant, even more meaningful, the other side says, Am Yisrael Chai. It's a prayer, it's a wish, it's a promise, it's the name of our synagogue. So this young woman named Chaya found herself serving her entire career at a synagogue, Am Yisrael, with our own slogan, Am Yisrael Chai. It was time to leave the vacuum store. Her business was done. We'd given each other our names. We had talked. The two of us hugged. The vacuum cleaner guy had no idea what the heck was going on. I've only referred to this in a romantic way, but it was like our eyes met across the crowded room, and we knew who we were, and we knew that even though we were two strangers, we knew of this connection. We knew what it meant for the two of us in the midst of all of this insanity that we're living in to have found each other. Went home with my new vacuum cleaner. I don't know if they ever convinced you to repair. We replaced, she replaced. A couple hours later, I get a call from Nancy, who's here in the office, and says, someone just dropped off a gift for you. She said you met her friend in the vacuum cleaner store and that she was wearing a pendant that said, Nova, we will dance again in Am Yisrael Chai. And I'm the one who gave it to her, and I have an extra one, so I'm dropping it off for your rabbi. And so this is I wear these every day. Sometimes I just hold them. Of course, many of you are wearing pendants that say, bring them home, or my heart is captive in Gaza. I don't know, the promise of Am Yisrael Chai is not necessarily something that each of us will get to actually experience in our lifetime. In just a couple weeks, we'll be reading the end of the Torah, the end of the book of Devarim, and in that book, we read of Moshe's death. He doesn't get to enter the promised land. God lets him go up to the mountain and to look from afar. I don't know when this era that we're in will end. I don't know, frankly, if I'll live to see the end of it, even though I hope I will. But I just know, we just all know, that whether we feel it today, whether we see it today, we all know it to be true deep, deep in our hearts. Am Yisrael Chai. We conclude our service with Yigdal.